Hello and welcome to our partnership podcast, where we'll be taking a deeper dive into understanding the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact. So some of you may already know, but in a short summary, the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact, or the Pact as it's sometimes known informally, is the Edinburgh Integration Joint Board's commitment to redefining our relationship with the citizens of Edinburgh and our partners. It's underpinned by a shared common purpose, which is to achieve and maximise the wellbeing of all of our citizens. But today I'm joined by Dr. Linda Irwin-Fitzpatrick, as well as our two colleagues from EVOC, Steph Milinkovic and Ian Brooke. And they're going to take us back to the very beginning, highlighting the importance of the Pact, reflect on what's happened so far, as well as a little sneak peek into what's to come. So, Linda, Steph and Ian, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Good.
Oh, good, thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. So let's just start from the top. I know I gave a little short introduction to the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact, but I'm sure you're much better placed to answer this in more detail for everyone. So can you just give us a little more insight into the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact?
Okay, Rachel, so it was a commitment in our strategic plan, and at that point it was described as the Edinburgh offer, and it was all about, as you said, developing a new relationship with the citizens of Edinburgh. But very quickly we realised that talking about an offer and a contract wasn't really quite the right language. So we began to talk about a pact, and this being about having a different type of conversation about what's important to people. So we began the whole development of the Edinburgh Pact last June, just as COVID was kind of at its height, really. And we began the conversations with city leaders, and we just simply asked them, what does health mean to you? What does care mean to you? And that became the beginning of our conversation. And then we had that same two questions that we then used in our survey, that we used in all our conversations with our staff and with our colleagues in the third sector, which Ian and Steph maybe want to say a wee bit about there, because that was a hugely invaluable piece of the work.
I'll come in there. I guess it's worth saying that over the years, EVOC has worked very, very closely with Edinburgh Health Social Care Partnership, and on a number of bits of work where it's become clear that officers and EVOC and the third sector are all aligned in wanting to try to make sure that we can deliver better health and care services to citizens of Edinburgh, but that it's been really difficult to get the sort of policy direction in that. And so when we've been able to get that into the strategic plan, we saw that as a really positive opportunity. And so now actually enacting that work and going out and having the conversations with people in communities has been a really strong opportunity, I think, for all of us.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. So I know over the last year or so, mental health and wellbeing has been at the forefront of everyone's mind, with COVID and things. You know, it's really important to everyone at the minute. Can you tell me where the idea of the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact came from?
I think, as Steph was just saying, it was kind of a one-liner, if you like, in the strategic plan. So it was really our opportunity to develop it. And I guess when COVID happened, I've worked in mental health for a very long time, and for the first time, I think we began to see people making much more explicit connection between physical health and mental health and well-being.
Yeah, I suppose that thinking about when the strategic plan was written 2.5 years ago now, there was a big push to get some public health messages in there, and I think that there was a recognition across all partners and with the citizens that we all work with, that it was necessary to put something in the strategic plan that reflected back to citizens and to the stakeholders that the partnership works with all the time, about what it is that everybody needs to bring to the party.
Yeah.
Statutory services can do so much. There's something that the third sector brings, obviously, around delivering services or around prevention and early intervention. But then there's also a sort of responsibility with the citizens about what do they need to do to sort of like make the thing happen in the round, in the big picture.
Perfect.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Linda, do you want to add anything more, or?
Just your comment about mental health. So I guess I've worked in mental health for a number of years, and we've been very busy in Edinburgh developing our mental health and wellbeing strategy, Thrive. And I think there's loads of learning that I've had through Thrive that I can bring into the development of the Edinburgh Pact. And I think COVID has really highlighted the importance of thinking of not just of your physical health, but of your mental health. And I think, it's really brought to life the importance of green spaces, of getting regular exercise, of being mindful of how much you're sleeping, what you're eating. All of these things contribute into your physical and your mental health. So I think it's kind of one of the very, very few positive things about COVID is that we've all gained greater awareness of the importance of our mental health and well-being, and hopefully it's easier to have some of these conversations now.
Yeah, definitely. And that all goes hand in hand with mental health, getting your exercise every day, seeing your friends, and just if that's something that, we can provide, or, provide green spaces for people around Edinburgh, then that's just really great that we're lucky enough to have that sort of space around us. So moving on to the next question. So Linda, you're from the Edinburgh Health and Social Care Partnership, and I said Ian and Steph, you're both from EVOC. So you're obviously working in a very collaborative way. Can you tell me what it's like working together and how you've built that relationship?
I think we've known each other quite a long time, and kind of different paths have crossed in different ways, haven't they? But we've never spent so much time together as the last few months, I'd say.
I think that's a fair comment, Linda. Yeah, I think, as sort of like in our day jobs, we cross over with lots of partnership staff all the time, and with the council and the NHS and other public services, as well as our members and the wider voluntary sector. But on this particular piece of work, it's quite intense. And obviously, to future podcasts, I think we're going to talk about the community mobilisation element of the Edinburgh Pact, which we're particularly involved in. But certainly over the last year, I think Linda's found it quite helpful to sort of come to some of the EVOC channels, if you like, to communicate with voluntary sector and community groups. So EVOC runs a number of networks and forums, not least we have 7 networks in geographical areas of the city. And I think, Linda, you've been around them all twice now, haven't you, to talk to the dozens and dozens of local community groups and volunteers that attend those forums.
Yeah, and every time I'm learning so much, because you think you kind of know what's happening, but the minute you start to dig a bit deeper, you find out all these other amazing things that are happening. And I think, the fact of throughout COVID and continuing now, the voluntary sector just were able to mobilise so quickly in order to really respond to communities' immediate needs, which was incredible. And that's part of what we're trying to really build on, so that it doesn't disappear, it doesn't dissipate as we return to whatever we're returning to. But so it's incredible learning, and I love speaking to people. I love learning about what they're doing and what their thoughts and aspirations are, and equally what challenges and fears people have.
Yeah,
I would say it's been a really fascinating experience as well. We've had a lot of opportunities to sort of bounce around different ideas and practice them out amongst ourselves, and then to try to take them out to work with people to see, would this be something that would work with you? Would this be something that would work with your organisation? And being able to get the feedback from organisations and having to try to change and morph and make sure that any of the ideas that we're working with are going to be suitable for all of the people that we're working with and all of the organisations, that they're going to fit with the way that the partnership needs to work as it goes into the future and through the transformation programme. I think it's been really, really fascinating to enjoy.
I think also the organisations that EVOC works with a lot, and the voluntary organisations and community groups that come to the networks and forums, often bring the voices of groups that are dead easy to ignore. And I think that that's been really, really helpful to feed into the Pact, and that perspective of inequalities, health inequalities, of all the issues around equalities, the sort of groups with protected characteristics. I think that by working together, we've been able to cover a lot more bases maybe than might have been possible otherwise.
Yeah. I think from an outsider's perspective, you might not know that. Like a member of the public maybe wouldn't realise that we're all working together to make sure that we can provide the best care for the people of Edinburgh. So it's really good to hear that you're working really well together, and just that your paths have crossed in general. It's really nice to hear that. Moving on to the next question. Can you tell me a bit about, like, you've kind of already touched on it, like the working groups and things that you've had, but what kind of work has been done so far, and what would you say that you're most proud of so far?
So I guess I'll jump in there. Let's see. The vast majority of the work that we've done so far has been about making sure that we can continue that engagement piece, that we've got a really clear understanding if we're going to be making changes across our systems, across health and social care systems, across council systems and across the city, that those are going to be the kinds of changes that are going to improve equality and well-being and fairness for people that need to be able to access our services, whether they be in the third sector or the statutory sector, shouldn't really be a barrier for people. We should be able to make sure that those are going to be accessible across the piece. So a lot of events have taken place. We've done a number of huge events on teams, which have been really interesting learning opportunities. And then I think the next phase is that we're going to be going into our summer season of engagement events that are going to be much more focused within communities. So it's important for us to first of all get that understanding of what organisations can and can't do, and then to be able to take that down to citizens and try to understand what their aspirations are. And I think I'm really proud of the way that we've been able to support organisations to come along to this, because we know that lots of little organisations just don't have the capacity for lots and lots and lots of engagement. So bringing everybody together has been a real opportunity to get that learning.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I'm really pleased that we're being courageous and we're not going out there with a set fixed ideas. And we're kind of, all of us at one point have said, we don't know the answer to that yet because we haven't had the conversation with you all. Yeah. And that's really it's kind of quite a scary thing to say sometimes, but it's actually a really refreshing thing, I'm sure, to hear, because all too often we can do consultations when actually it's not really participation. And I think there's a difference. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we're all kind of in it together, but we've all got different roles and responsibilities within that, but we can all understand that we've all got different roles and responsibilities as well, and there's a respectfulness around it.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to say it's really refreshing to hear that you're actually taking a step back and not coming in with a fixed agenda and actually listening to people and their opinions. So it's really nice to hear. That's your main objective. I guess moving nicely on to the last question that we have, what's next for the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact? What have we got to look forward to?
We've got the summer season, and again, we're hopefully going to hear back from a lot of our partner organisations to see what they would like to do during the summer to make some of the conversations, as Steph was saying, much more local and much more around people, and really taking advantage of the fact that we can actually go outside now more and go to different spaces and places. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think one of the things maybe that we've also got to look forward to is a lot more hard work. Sometimes talking to communities, talking to voluntary organisations, keeping an enthusiasm, a lightness, but also exploring really important issues, is quite hard work. And I think, it's worth it in the end. So don't be afraid of what we might be coming to you to ask you next about.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Well, I think that's a nice, lovely note to leave on, or to finish up on, I should say. Linda, Steph and Ian, it's been so lovely speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Rachel.
And again, thanks for sharing your story with us, and everything that you've done so far for the Edinburgh Wellbeing Pact, and ultimately keeping the people of Edinburgh safe and well. We definitely hope to do more of these podcasts, so keep your eyes peeled on our colleague news and articles and the Colleague Hub as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.